Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. In today's episode of Studio Chat, I chat with Laura from Her Nutrition. This episode is a goodie if you need help with reducing stress in your life and you're wanting to increase your energy levels with nutrition. Laura is in New Zealand, based in Wellington. She's a qualified nutritionist who specialises in nutrition and wellness for women to do with hormone balance, restore energy, and whole food philosophy. In this episode, we chat about a lot of things. It's a really good episode. We talk about stress and what it does to our body, how to reduce our stress levels, our energy levels, what do they look like, and how can they be constant during the day, and how can caffeine work with us or not help our energy levels. What are ways to support our adrenal glands through food and lifestyle practices? We look at preventative health with nutrition. We look at blood glucose levels, how to get our body back in balance. We talk about breath work, exercise, stress, and so much more. Come and join Laura and I as we talk about food as medicine. Welcome to this episode of Studio Chat. It is so lovely this morning to have Laura joining me on the podcast. How are you this morning, Laura?
Hi, Barbara. Thanks so much. It's nice to be here and I'm excited to chat.
Now, you're across the ditch at the moment, so this is what I love. I get a bit homesick when I talk to people in New Zealand, and you're from, if my Australian listeners aren't familiar, Laura lives in Wellington, which is in the bottom part of the North Island, and I have to check myself sometimes because it's been a while since I've been back home, so I want to make sure my geography is right. How's the weather there this morning?
Yeah, cool. So fellow Kiwi girl like yourself. The weather is pretty grey this morning, actually. It's not too cold, but it's probably got nothing on the majority of Australia today. I'd say we've got the jumper on.
Yeah, it's nice and sunny here, but you're joining me this morning, which I'm so grateful for, to talk about supporting women's daily energy levels and reducing stress in terms of how we fuel ourselves, how we nourish ourselves. So for my listeners, can you please share a little bit about where you're from? Obviously, we know you're living in Wellington at the moment, but where you're from and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from Christchurch, which is in the South Island, and as you said, currently living in Wellington. Have lived also overseas for a big chunk between those two places. And I'm working as a women's health nutritionist in Wellington, and I'm a mother. So I've got two very energetic young boys, Bodhi, who is 4, and Riley, who's 1.5. So it's loads of fun, but super busy. And I run my virtual clinic around that. So completely online at this stage, which seems to be working okay given the current climate, but it would be lovely to have a space one day, but all going well. So I really just have a passion for helping women and to advocate for their health. So really I just see women one-to-one online and help them establish kind of the root cause of any issues that may be going on for them in their health. And I think there is so much going on for women these days that, it can just be helpful to get some support and guidance towards how to really optimize their health and wellness so that they can feel super amazing and energized and kind of just the best versions of themselves, really.
We all want that, I think. A lot of us don't realize what it feels like to feel good. Especially when you talk about energy levels and stress for the last couple of years, a lot of women just previously too, whether you're a mum or you're not, you're a sister or you're a friend, whatever you are in life, I find that just, women in general have really low energy levels and are rushing around and are really stressed. So I think one of the first questions I want to ask you is, why did you want to study nutrition?
Yeah, sure. So I have always been quite interested in food. I love food and have always been quite active. And actually, my mum reminded me of something the other day. She brought it over to show me, and it's a little recipe book that I made for her when I was 10.
Oh, that was always your
Yeah,
blood.
I could like semi remember, but I was still like quite surprised when she showed me. And actually, what was going on at the time is my mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and she had gone through chemotherapy and surgery, and she was really just doing into her recovery stage. And she was amazing. She really took it on herself to try and see what she could do from like a lifestyle and nutrition perspective to help her recovery. And at the time, you know, this was like 20 years ago, there
Oh,
wasn't a whole lot available in terms of education and stuff. But as a 10-year-old, I just kind of watched her. She got one of those giant Breville juicers and had it in our kitchen, took up half the kitchen, and she'd be juicing like carrot and celery and raw vegetables and trying to source some organic food and really just upping her plant intake. I mean, at the time, it didn't really mean a whole lot to me other than that she was eating a whole lot of vegetables. But yeah, looking back now, I'm like, wow, that's super incredible to have gone that extra mile when it wasn't a readily available part of your recovery.
yeah.
You know, to try and do what you could to help your health and recovery. And yeah, so she showed me this recipe book that I'd made her that year, and I'd gone on Google, and which was pretty limited at that stage, I think, and printed off, you know, I didn't write the recipes. I wasn't like a child genius or anything, but I printed off these recipes based on like plants, foods and tofu and vegetables, and stuck them all into a book for her. And she brought it around to me the other day and showed me. And I was like, I guess I really started my passion quite early, whether I knew it or not. And from there, I went and studied nursing out of school and worked as an operating theatre nurse for a couple of years.
Wow, that would have been incredible, hey? Seeing all sorts
Yeah,
of things.
it was actually. It was super fascinating. Just nothing really is more fascinating than seeing the inner workings of the human body. And yeah, it gives you quite a good appreciation for the human body systems and how everything functions. So I did love that side of it. It was really, really cool. But there was also this side of it, which was, you know, you're always helping people when they've already got to the stage that it's, you know, they're really sick or they're having to have these operations, and it's sort of the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff mentality rather than preventative health measures to try and help these people avoid getting in these awful situations where they need this surgery or this treatment, you know. So from there, I just think, yeah, it really installed this real passion for preventative health. And I went on then, it kind of coincided, I took a break from nursing as we moved overseas with my now husband. And I kind of took that time just to really focus in on preventative health. So initially I trained in fitness and worked at the university teaching classes there and some postnatal classes as well, which was cool. And then went on and did my postgrad studies in health science and nutrition, which was, yeah, it was cool. And it really just felt like this is right and this is where I want to be. So yeah. And then in terms of the women's health side of things, that passion really, really started after the birth of my second boy. And yeah, I just feel like I felt, I don't know, I knew I had the knowledge and I had done the research on a lot of this stuff, but still I found I was just feeling completely knackered. I was depleted. My energy was just on the floor. I was, stressed, irritable. It just really just made me think, there is such a need. There's such a huge need for women, whether it be, postpartum or just in any stage of life where they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or depleted in energy. There just has to be some support systems available for women experiencing that. So that's really how I am where I am right now.
Do you find that anyone listening to this, if you're listening to this, food is last off the rank, as in, I don't think people quite understand when they say food is medicine. People see food as calories. People see food as enjoyment, which, yes, I'm a big believer in that. But there's also another side of food, which is medicinal, which can actually help with stress, help with cholesterol, help with your hormones, help with, actually can help you lose weight when you actually nourish yourself, because none of us, I'm talking in general, none of us as in human beings on the earth right now are nourished properly. So that's why we're always hungry, but we're always stressed. And when we're stressed, we reach for the things that stress our adrenals or stress our body out even more, and it's this ending cycle. And then when people get cancer, people get diabetes, people get I'm trying to think what else I see, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic anxiety, depression, whatever that health condition is, that's your body just giving you a bit of a red light going, hey, I need extra care right now. I need you to help me. And one of the biggest things is food. But do you find there's a real, this podcast is great today because there's two of us, we're teamed up together to talk about how powerful food is. Do you believe that people in general just discount, like haven't made that connection yet, and really, if they do, just think it's all BS?
Yeah, completely. I think there is still a long way to go before people kind of instantly think to change what they're putting in their bodies in terms of food, as a form of prevention or treatment for health. And I think, there's just there's not a lot out there which puts food first. Like you said, it's like, okay, we've tried this drug and you've done this and you've had this operation, and even then still often not, but sometimes it might be like, maybe you should go to a dietitian and get some extra help or whatever. But like you said, it is never, okay, you're at risk of this is how you should be eating, or these are the kind of foods you want to be including, or you're showing signs that this could be an illness, or you may be at risk of developing, something. This is how you should be fueling yourself. Like you said, it's never kind of that first line. And I think it needs to be obviously in conjunction with medicine. There's a place for both. But what I find is that I think people can be one or the other, and it doesn't have to be, it can be working together, food and medicine, because food is part of medicine. It's like you said.
Yeah, but I think it's because everyone's bodies are so inflamed. With inflammation, that's what causes disease and disruption in the gut and all that kind of stuff. So, if people are hearing this or listening to this for the first time, that food is medicine, and they might be like, oh, I haven't really heard that, or I've never thought of it that way. Because most people think of food, especially from a movement or a fitness point of view or a weight loss point of view, that what most women just worry about. It's not around, I was guilty of this too for many, many years. Health didn't actually even come into it for me. It was more like, how do I look and what's my weight? Health I didn't care. It just wasn't even in my thought patterns. And I just think for women that it's once you get your inflammation in control and you actually educate yourself on what foods are right for your body, because everybody's different,
Yeah.
then you've got that power for your whole life to be able to adjust and move and change to what you need.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, that's such a good way of looking at it. Like you said, everyone's quite individual in their needs. And once it's not about a set diet that's going to suit everybody or a set way of eating, that's why it does take time, and it does take education and finding what's a good fit for you and getting feedback from your body. Yeah, this is working, this isn't. And yeah, I guess, nutrition essentially is how the science of how nutrients affect your body. And we kind of forget that a little bit and just think of it as, I want to eat this because it's yummy, which I'm all for as well. Or like you said, I can't eat that because I won't fit my genes, or I'm, and it's just such a sad relationship to have with food, really. Like,
it's controlling, isn't it? It rules people's lives and affects their relationships with people. Can reflect on their like intimacy levels with their partner because they don't like their body. It can affect how they are as a mother, but also passing their I guess values, but their cycles and their patterns with their eating behaviors to their children. So it's a lot of the time it's not about just us, it's also who we're surrounding ourselves with, and who are the little people that are watching us.
Yeah, and what kind of standard we're setting for them and example are we setting for them. Yeah, you're right, it's a generational thing too. And I think, our generation, we do have that chance to be able to change that mindset on eating and switch it to nourishment over dieting. And I think there's a shift that's starting. And I'm excited because I think more and more people are just a little bit fed up with having to like live in a not very fun or pleasant way to be able to feel like they're good enough to wear that or go out or do this or see that person, and it's just exhausting, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be good.
Yeah, it is. And just before we actually dive into what we other things we're going to talk about today, I've just written down while we were talking is this food can taste good, but what happens over time is I found it myself, and I also let my clients know that when you first start having food as medicine or adding more whole foods or plant foods into your diet, at the beginning there's some that you may be like, it's okay. And it's never going to be like the fast food or the packet chips or the Tim Tams and stuff, because our taste buds have gotten used to that really like quick, that really quick hit of dopamine and the sugar and things artificially tasting good, which is only a chemical reaction in our body that has been made at a petri dish in a boardroom. So when people everyone knows that. Everyone is very intelligent, but I always just remind them of that what your body is used to now is actually not food. It's actually chemical reactions in your body to make you feel good. But your body doesn't know what to do with that, because every time it goes into your body's like, what the hell is like a Tim Tam? It's like when our brain and our gut system and our body was created, there were no Tim Tams around. So when our body has Tim Tams, it's like, what? Like, do I digest this? Do I throw it back up? Do I poop it out? Do I like
what
your tongue and your brain, like, I love this, but everywhere else in your body is like, I don't know what this is. Still enjoy Tim Tams, like they're great and they're amazing and there's a place for them, but it's not, you've got to flood your body with the plants and the nutrients and the whole foods. When you have your Tim Tam, it's great. But over time, you'll find that when you start eating more of the plant foods and whole foods, your taste buds change.
Oh yeah, completely. Taste buds are trainable, and they respond more to the foods that you're having more of. So when you're initially start having like more leafy greens or whatever, at the start you might think, oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's not sexy, right? It's boring.
Yeah, but guaranteed, like majority of people will say over time, it's what you get used to, and your taste buds start responding to the taste of spinach. Even if you don't think that's possible, they do. And you actually begin to crave those foods more and more. So eating that way becomes easier and more enjoyable the longer you do it. So
that's right. So like with what you do with your clients and with your business, when a client comes to you and says, what should I actually feel like during the day with my energy levels, what should that look like?
Yeah, so I guess I look, when I'm thinking of energy, I kind of think of what is your baseline, natural, stable energy like. So forget when there's times, our energy requirements change all the time, whether we have days that we're super busy or we decide that we're going to run a half marathon. Everyone's needs are different, but what your needs are on like a general day-to-day basis, can you meet those needs naturally and with stable energy, that's accessible for you? So that might look like, obviously getting up in the morning is when we want our energy levels to kind of be trending towards their peak, thanks to cortisol. And when we wake up, you kind of just want to be able to think, do I have the energy mentally and physically to face the day's tasks ahead? And I mean, sure, some days you're going to be like, no, I would rather stay in bed for another hour. And like, that's, completely normal. Everyone has days where they don't want to get out of bed, but can you actually face the energy requirements needed for the day, whether that's, taking your little ones to school or meeting their needs? Maybe that's, you've got a full day of work, and are you able to be at work for the day without feeling like you're having this huge energy crash at 3:00, needing caffeine to get you through to the afternoon? And then by the evening, we kind of want that energy to be trending down a little bit gradually and nicely, as melatonin, one of our sleep hormones, starts to kick in. But yeah, really, I just look at, does that person have enough energy to meet their fundamental daily life practices, like looking after family, work, and still having enough energy to have, nourish relationships that you have, because that's really what's most important, family and relationships, and of course work, because we have to pay bills. But if you can, on the whole, if you can meet those daily needs, then you're doing okay. But for so many people, they've gotten so used to not actually being able to meet those needs easily. Like, people might say, I'm always tired at work. I'm always tired by 2 p.m. I always come home and fall asleep on the couch, or I never have enough energy to play with my kids when I get home. And really, like, that's suboptimal energy. Like, we should be able to meet those daily needs that we're doing day in, day out, comfortably. And if we're not, then something probably needs to change.
Yeah. Do you find that this is a common thread that I see? So people will wake up in the morning, don't really have any morning rituals or any routines. They kind of rush into their day, get everything going, get caffeinated again. Then they've got a really busy day, might have something to eat on the run. And as they're eating, I can actually feel people listening to this probably nodding, going, yep, this is my life. And eating something in the car, or eating in some, picking up something from the local cafe, another coffee, working in front of their computer, eating, got to go pick up the kids, come home, sort everyone out. While they're sorting everyone out, they're so stressed, they're so tired, they need to pick me up. Insert alcohol here, so insert wine or the gin or whatever you have a couple of those. Oh, I feel really good. And then, but I'm losing weight and I'm going to look after myself, so I'm just going to fix myself a salmon salad. I'll eat a bit of that, then I'll have some chocolate, or I may not have some chocolate, and then I'll have some more wine, and then I go to bed, and then I repeat this every day for the rest of my life, wondering why I'm so run down, wondering why I'm really stressed, wondering why my anxiety is through the roof.
Yeah. Completely. I think you've hit the nail on the head for a lot of people. And yeah, it's tough because when you feel those dips in energy, of course, the first thing you want to do is reach for something that's going to give you energy. But unfortunately, it's such a vicious cycle that gets you kind of trapped on this roller coaster of energy and caffeine. And it's hard to get off and it's hard to break. And I think, a lot of people just need that support to get back to naturally producing energy, and not relying on other things, and kind of being able to get off that rat race and just take a step back and feel like they're actually living life at a pace that they can maintain.
Yeah, exactly. And how can food, if someone's listening to this, how can food actually help them with the energy levels?
Yeah, so in terms of energy, I think there's kind of two sort of groups, or in two areas of food I look at. So first I look at blood sugar regulation. So we kind of touched on that, but for a lot of people, whether they're over consuming or consuming sugar or highly refined carbohydrates, which is very common, that's not just biscuits and chocolate, that can be, breads and scones and muffins and pastas. All of those have a really big impact on our blood glucose levels. So when we consume those foods, we get a blood glucose spike, and this tells our pancreas that we need to release insulin to help mop up that glucose. So we initially get that big energy surge when we've got that high glucose levels in our blood. That's why it feels so good to eat a biscuit or have something sweet, or
because a bowl of cereal.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel great for, the first half an hour or hour. And, it's all going well until insulin mops up all that glucose in your blood and stores it away in your liver or your muscles. And then all of a sudden you have this giant drop in blood glucose, which coincides with a huge drop in energy levels. So then all of a sudden you go from feeling pretty good to feeling very average and very tired and exhausted and being like, oh, I guess I just need another biscuit, or I might need a coffee now, and it just gets you on that roller coaster of blood glucose spikes and dips. And really I find that in terms of the number one thing I address in someone's diet is that in terms of energy. So ways you can kind of help with regulating your blood glucose levels, I like to think, let's start at breakfast. So first meal of the day, ideally, and I mean not always either, but I say savoury over sweet is often best, because it gives your body a chance to start kicking in that natural energy and not running the risk of that blood glucose roller coaster setting off so early in the day. So I also say, really important at breakfast time, if you can consume protein, healthy fats and fiber, if you make those your three kind of go-to, and if you can add some leafy greens in, even better, and kind of make that the staple breakfast for you, whether that be in a smoothie. You might be saying, you might pop a scoop of protein with some handful of leafy greens and some chia seeds, some almond milk, maybe some blueberries. And because blueberries are high in fiber, they help to kind of regulate the absorption and slow down the absorption of the glucose into your bloodstream. So yeah, really just focusing on starting your day with a balanced meal. So when we were told breakfast is the most important meal of the day, it's an old saying, but it kind of rings true in the way that we can set ourselves up to have great energy throughout the day if we get breakfast on track. So that would be wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. And just to help people, because I know sometimes people, when they hear protein, healthy fats, and fiber, they don't know what that means. So I know that you shared an example of protein and fiber. You mentioned the blueberries. Are there just one more example of healthy fats you could give someone to put in a smoothie and fiber?
Oh yeah, totally. So healthy fats, chia seeds, I find are a really great one. They're a good source of omega-3 fats, which we need to consume daily. And they also have fiber too, so that's a 2-for-1. And then, yeah, I guess coconut is another really good healthy fat. Avocado is one I actually like to put in smoothies or on toast. It's quite a versatile one for breakfast. It's pretty much my go-to. I'd have avocado most days. For now, anyway. Then
I love avocado, and I say this when we're talking about blood sugar levels. I say this to all my clients that I'm a real sugar fiend. Like, sugar is just something that's really ingrained into hardwired into my body, into my fight or flight response. It's every day. It's like, can I have sugar today? Can I have sugar today? So for me, I find having avocado at lunchtime and at dinner, sometimes I have half and half, and people are really afraid of that. Oh my God, I'm going to get really fat. No. Like, I have sometimes half at lunch, half at dinner, not every day. Some days I'll just have a quarter, depending on what I feel like, but it really suppresses my cravings for sugar.
Oh, completely. Yeah, you're right there. So I know people get frightened of eating too much avocado, and they're busy cutting them into eighths, and and I get maybe when they get up to $6 each or whatever, maybe we'll be cutting them into 8 pieces. But for now, like, they are super nourishing. They are going to slow that absorption, like I said, of glucose into your blood. So they also help to suppress those hunger hormones, like ghrelin. So ghrelin is our hunger hormone, really, our main hunger hormone. So it'll have us reaching for those sugary snacks if there's too much rolling around in our body. So eating foods that can kind of counteract the effects of ghrelin are really a good way. And for people that find they have sugar cravings, say in the afternoon, so say you're someone that comes home every day and you're craving sugar at like 4 or 5 o'clock, like what you're doing, that means lunchtime is a really good time to have that healthy fat and that fiber.
Yeah.
So kind of time when you're having your fats based on when you find you are most at risk of craving sugar. So if you find it's like, oh, those biscuits in the office at 10 o'clock in the morning are singing my name every day, then I think healthy fats at breakfast, well, for everyone, but I mean, make sure you do if that's something that applies to you, is a good way to do it as well. And then, sorry, you asked me for an example of fiber, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So any vegetables are really high in fiber. Things like brassica vegetables, so broccoli, leafy greens, those kind of things. I like avocado as well, banana. Our berries are a really good high fiber option too. So all pretty easy foods to incorporate into breakfast, whether it's in a smoothie or with some eggs for protein. Hemp seeds are a great protein source if you're plant-based, and they're super yummy as well. Actually, I like them.
Yeah, I do too. They're really yummy. But that hunger hormone, I also feel like I call it gremlin. I don't know why. When I was studying, it just reminds me of gremlin.
Yeah, and it's a good way to associate it, really, because it's that little gremlin that just
won't go away.
Eat the cake.
Oh yeah. So when we talk about stress in our bodies these days, people hear this word cortisol, if I can actually say it right. So what drives cortisol production? Like, what makes us have more cortisol?
Yeah, so cortisol is part of our stress response. So when we are in a stressful situation, whether it's true stress, something's happened that's stressing us out, or if it's something we kind of perceive as stress, that is going to initiate our stress response. So you'll be releasing your stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, and this is part of your fight or flight response, which I think you just touched on before. Your body is saying, okay, I need to respond to this stress by diverting my energy towards the functions that I need most in this stressful time. So like blood pressure increases, heart rate increases, but things like digestion are slow because blood is diverted away from our gut and into our limbs so that we can fight the fight and get away from the stressful situation. So yeah, cortisol is produced in our adrenal glands as a response to stress or perceived stress.
So interesting, eh? So how can we support our adrenals? Okay, there's a couple of questions in here. How do we support our adrenals? First of all, what the hell are adrenals? And how can we help them with nutrition?
Yeah, cool. So our adrenals are two little kind of triangle shaped glands that sit on top of our kidneys, and they are responsible for getting messages from our brain to create and release hormones. So they are responsible for some of our sex hormones, like progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone, as well as cortisol. So produces these in response to our brain sending the message via our pituitary to our adrenal glands saying, okay, we need this, guys, we need some cortisol because we're in a stressful situation and you need to help us kind of dull down the effects. Like cortisol wants to help us to maintain homeostasis or to maintain a regulated effect in our body. And yeah, it does that by our little adrenal glands. So they're quite little, but they're quite powerful in terms of their effect.
So how can we balance them? Because, that's what our body is always trying to be in balance. And that's what I mean. I think when we get into stress mode, which all of us have this cortisol drip in our body, like you may have seen things on the news and then your body's like, okay, or someone may have cut you off in traffic, or sometimes someone at school drop off may just look at you funny. And these little things, our body doesn't know. Our body doesn't know what's real or not. So all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to get eaten by a tiger. I'm going to get eaten by a tiger. I'm going to get eaten by a tiger. So the whole time your body's like, cortisol, cortisol, cortisol. So the whole time blood is hanging out in your arms and your legs. And the most important organs, especially obviously you being ex-operating, like you've seen the insides, you know what's happening up here and down there. Or people can't say like around the heart and around the digestive system.
Yeah.
Never hanging out there anymore. And that's why everyone has anxiety, because gut is connected to the brain.
Yeah.
People have, like, everyone I see has some form of digestive issues, especially bloating or painful periods. Yes. So what's in terms of nutrition, how can we support our adrenals just to help us out a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot going on, like you said. And really our adrenals come into it most when you have been overproducing cortisol constantly for an extended period of time. And like you said, it might not even be a conscious thing that you're producing cortisol. For some people, I might say, like a client might come in and I suspect that they're overproducing cortisol based on the questionnaire. And they say to me, oh, I don't know, I'm not really a super stressy person. And like, I would think that of myself as well. But our body actually kind of has other ideas. You don't have to physically feel like you are a stressed person to be suffering from physiological stress. You know, they're two different things. They overlap, obviously. But so when someone is constantly putting out increased cortisol from their adrenal glands, this really takes a toll over time on the rest of their body. So things like metabolism can slow down, immune system function can drop off. So you might find you're getting sick more. And then your insulin is your cortisol, sorry, is trying to regulate your blood sugar levels. So it actually turns off the signal to insulin and wants to maintain that glucose level as high, because it's saying, okay, this person's super stressed all the time. They need sugar in their blood all the time so that they can run away from tigers all the time, like you said, or get out of that stressful situation. So, you can run the risk of type 2 diabetes and cravings, like we talked about before, when you've got that elevated sugar level. So really ways that we can, sorry, I definitely got off on a tangent then. I just remembered the question.
It's all relevant stuff that everyone needs to know. So not at all. It's amazing stuff. Keep going.
Okay. So ways we can support our adrenals. So when your adrenal glands have been suffering from that overproduction, we need to support them through food and lifestyle practices to help regulate that cortisol production. So some ways we can do that are by nutrients. So things like zinc and magnesium and the B group vitamins are really helpful for supporting our adrenals. They help to regulate that cortisol response. And then also there is, and I recommend like working with a practitioner to figure out if this is right for you, but adaptogenic herbs are another one, which are super powerful and useful for people who are experiencing chronic high cortisol. So adaptogens, you guys may be familiar with, but they act on our adrenal glands to help kind of minimize the effects of cortisol and regulate that production. So we've got something called our HPA axis, and that is a little kind of messaging network that runs between our brain, our pituitary, which is also in our brain, so our hypothalamus, our pituitary, and our adrenal glands. And what happens when you're overproducing cortisol for an extended period of time is your body can't actually keep up with the requirements. So your adrenals say, they're sending the message back to the brain that there's so much cortisol being produced, that your brain then sends the message back via the pituitary to say, okay, slow down, stop stimulating cortisol in the adrenals. Let's down-regulate that function. Let's put a cap on the cortisol production. And this kind of causes a negative feedback loop. So when you then have had extended cortisol for a long period of time, often people can drop into like a fatigued adrenal state, where they find they're super fatigued all the time. And often these people can find things like conception hard if they're trying for a baby, because our sex hormones are affected by our stress hormones. They have the same building blocks. So when you're overproducing cortisol, there's not enough to produce your other sex hormones like progesterone. Progesterone's one of our most powerful anti-anxiety, as well as the thing that signals ovulation in our body. So yeah, the knock-on effects are huge, and supporting those adrenals through food is and practices as well. So lifestyle practices that you can implement would be breathing techniques. And I know that sounds pretty basic, like we all breathe all the time, but there is a certain kind of way of breathing that can help reduce cortisol in our body. So diaphragmatic breathing or deep belly breathing. So I used to do speech and drama at school, like little drama lessons. Anyway, we got taught then how to properly diaphragmatically breathe. So it's something I've always been aware of, but it's amazing how often and how for so many people they don't or never breathe that way. So essentially it's just, if you put your hands on your tummy and you take a deep breath in through your nose, instead of your shoulders lifting and your chest rising, you want your stomach to be expanding down near the base of your lungs. So when we feel that, it can can actually be quite hard to do, especially if you are used to that shallow breathing, which is associated with stress. People are taking those quick, short, shallow, sharp breaths because, they're rushing around doing a million things, and they forget that to actually deeply breathe, which deep breathing signals our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest of our nervous system, to help reduce the stress response and to manage cortisol production. So I know it sounds a little bit airy-fairy to some people. They're like, great, I'm super stressed and you're telling me to just sit there and breathe. This is not helping. But actually, it is one of the most helpful things you can do to help calm that nervous system response and reduce cortisol. So even if you implement a 5-minute or a few 1-minute deep breathing sections into your day, this can have a huge impact on reducing stress levels. The other way would be like meditation. If you can spare 5 or 10 minutes to just deep breathe or be with yourself and your thoughts. And often this is hard to do for people that are stressed because they feel maybe it's not the best use of their time, or they're sitting there thinking a million things they could be doing or getting more stressed. But it is one of those things that if you don't think you can handle it, it's probably because you really need it.
Correct. Yeah. Most people want to run away from their thoughts.
Yes.
One of the things too, it's really interesting that with breath work, obviously, I just want to put a bit of a disclaimer in here. If you're having a panic attack or you're very, very anxious on a particular day, do not do breath work, because it's really going to make you feel more unsettled and just exacerbate everything. So I just wanted to mention that. But also stress, when you go and see someone like a nutritionist, or you see a practitioner or someone in the health sector, and you really want help with your health, the most overarching kind of dangerous thing that affects all of us is stress. So you can eat the right way or move your body the right way, but if you live in a highly stressful state, it puts a blanket over your whole body. And especially like with fertility and stuff, the thing is, what your body is doing is, if you're really stressed, your body will not conceive, because your body's actually, in a way, I know for anyone that is trying to conceive, it's a really difficult thing, but your body's protecting you, because it's like you're so stressed, it's not a safe environment to bring a baby in, so you can't get pregnant. So that's how powerful stress can be, is it blankets everything, it can shut everything down. And that's why it can affect, like you said, the sex hormones, and it can affect like just your digestion, and then just anxiety or depression. So yeah, being aware of what stress actually does to your body and the knock-on effects. It's not just I'm stressed. It has lingering, long-lasting effects. And I think the older you get, it can happen at any age, but the longer you ignore it, the longer you don't do anything about it, your body's going to keep sending you this message until it will be constipation or diarrhea. It may be rashes on your skin. It may be bloating. It may be irritability. It may be irregular periods, or not being able to conceive, or it may be like so many things. But these are all little stress flags going, hey, can you listen to me? Can you listen to me? And over time, these flags are just going to get louder and louder, aren't they? It's not going to go away. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, completely. It can often be, like you said, a build-up of layer upon layer of things happening for you that cause this. And personally, I've sort of experienced that at a couple of stages, but there was one stage when I was living overseas and I was teaching fitness classes, and on some of my busier days I was teaching up to 4, sometimes 5 spin classes, high intensity, 4 to 5 hours of cardio, and being the health and nutritious conscious person that I was, really trying to be conscious of what I was eating and eating the right foods. And yeah, I got myself into, now what I see was completely chronic stress and elevated cortisol, and even to the point of like that adrenal fatigue where I was just falling asleep so early in the evenings, completely exhausted. Like I had very irregular cycles, my skin was completely inflamed all the time, and yeah, it just really proves the power of stress, like you said, and the effects it can have on your body. And yeah, that's another one that we kind of probably should touch on is exercise. And while obviously exercise is super important and a great thing to incorporate into your daily life, sometimes when you're stressed, or if weight loss is a goal for you, and you are tirelessly going all out at the gym every day, HIIT classes, thrashing your body, you know, restricting calories, trying everything to try and lose this weight, but actually finding that it's not shifting or it's increasing. You know, this is because of stress, because your body's saying it's actually not safe to for me to shed weight, because I need to hold on to all of these calories, because as we know, traditionally the times of prolonged cortisol for people were when there were floods and famines, and times where people couldn't access food sources. So this is still what our body has, that mentality that, okay, they've been producing cortisol for the last few months, something's going on, you know, maybe we should hold on to all the food in case there's famine or floods. And you actually end up having the opposite effect, where you are retaining weight, you're bloating, your skin's inflamed, just stress is incredible, the effects it can have on our body. And having experienced it, I can really see and feel the difference. So I don't do much spin anymore.
I do love spin though. Spin,
it's great.
Awesome. It's more than music.
Oh yeah, I know. For me, that was it as well. I just love the music. And this isn't saying don't do the exercise you love. And always, you know, like spin, HIIT, I'm all for them. I used to absolutely love that form of exercise, and I still do, but it's just be mindful of the amounts you're doing and be aware that this does contribute to your stress hormone production. So maybe if you love HIIT and you want to do it 3 times a week or 4 times a week, how can you counteract the effects of that through diet or through other lifestyle practices like breath work or meditation, adaptogens, or support of the adrenals through food, to help minimize the effects of that stress on your body.
Balance, right? Getting that body back into balance, because our bodies were only designed, I'm not sure, because we weren't around in those days, like I always call them caveman days, and we weren't around then, but I'm sure our bodies were designed to have a cortisol fight or flight response once a year, maybe, or maybe when the seasons change. So, you know, that's probably more realistic, 4 times a year or whatever. That's probably, but we're having it every day, all day, 24/7. And anyone listening to this, I just want to give you permission to change this cycle. Change this. Might be a family cycle that you would like to break, or your circle of friends, about stress, because a lot of people wear it with a badge of honor, and it's almost stress and sleep go hand in hand. Oh my God, I've only had like 2 hours sleep. Oh, fine, I don't need sleep. I can sleep when I'm not here anymore. Or, oh my God, I'm just so busy. It's almost like not a competition, but I find that a lot of people feel like they have to be stressed. And if they're not stressed, they're not productive, and they're not a good mom, or they're not a good business owner, or whatever. If they're not in that, I just feel like it's the nature of what our lifestyle is right now. Is not so much since the last couple of years. I think people have got a different perspective on life now, that what am I actually doing? Am I happy? I want to look after myself, and I want to spend family, like, you know, I really want to have quality family time. So I do know there's been a shift, but I still see it and I still hear it a lot with people just saying how busy and how stressed they are and they don't have enough time. And I'm like, do you really want to live in this loop for the rest of your life? Like, are you going to get a massive trophy at the end? Like, what are you, like, you're running your body into the ground. What do you want? Like, do you want a gold medal? I'll go buy a plastic one from the $2 shop. Like, I'll give you a medal if that's what you, it's because, again, people aren't given the permission. We don't have this conversation, and they're not given the permission to actually stop and think, oh yeah, why am I doing it? It's really easy to get caught up with all the other mums or all the other business owners or your friends or whoever. And it's no one's fault. It's just the knock-on effect of the lifestyle of everyone seems to be busy, doing, because they want to work towards their goals, which is awesome, but there's other ways of doing it. And I hear a lot of people that when their health goes, especially like billionaires and millionaires and whoever, have so much money, but when their health goes, health is wealth, and they can have all the money in the world, but once your health goes, you can't get it. It's really hard to get it back, or it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to get it back. But try not to get there in the first place. Like, but if you do get there, it's your body going, hey, I just really need your assistance right now. I really need your help. Can you help me? Rather than throughout my life, I just used to hate my body so much. And like, why are you doing this? And this is like, you know, and any woman listening to this, you know, wanting to have that perfect body or be lean or be whatever your language is, when you get there, it doesn't make your life any better. And it doesn't, you think that I just want to lose this weight. Yes, it may be for health reasons, or it may be just to feel good in your clothes, or to just feel good in general. But just know that if you haven't worked on the mindset stuff, or you haven't kind of worked on the whole balance, like we've spoken about today, the nutrition and stress, your life, you still think the same, you're still wired the same. It's not going to make your life any better.
Yeah, that's so true. We really have to kind of take a step back sometimes and just think, you know, being everything to everyone and working a million hours a day isn't always more productive, and quite often it's not more productive. And like you said, that badge of honor for being busy, and yeah, definitely that's so evident. And I read something the other day in terms of like parenting, and it said women these days are expected to work like they haven't had children, or mother like they don't have a job. And it really rang true. And it was just like the expectations, if there's kids involved or not, on women are just huge. And I think, you know, people are all trying to keep up and maintain that expectation or that image, or what they feel like they should be doing. And kind of, if we allow ourselves, or give each other a break, give ourselves a break, and say, actually, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. I can only give this much, you know, and perhaps I do need to take a break. Perhaps I do need to put my health first, and not wait for that, like you said, not wait for that health issue to hit you in the face to think, okay, now I should make some changes. You know, let's do it before it gets to that point. And yeah, and then I think really support each other to not feel the pressure to have to be everything to everyone, you know. Just live and feel good, and balance, like you said, is just super, super key.
Yeah, definitely. So wrapping up on this amazing podcast today, it's been so great to chat to you. Is there anything else before we go that you'd like my listeners to know about? Anything else that you'd like to share?
We covered so much, didn't we? But I think just kind of what I was saying just before, just give yourself permission to make small changes that are going to work towards bettering your health. It doesn't have to be a big giant overhaul in your life that's, you know, because that can be intimidating or scary for some people. And it's amazing how little changes can actually amount to a huge change in how you feel and how you live your daily life. I guess I better also mention, because I was going to talk about stimulants, I was going to talk about coffee. And while I do love coffee, you know, like I'm a coffee lover. So this is coming from someone who enjoys coffee. But that is one thing as well that we need to be mindful of in terms of stress, because it does have a similar effect on our blood glucose as, say, eating a chocolate bar. The adrenaline spikes our blood glucose levels and also can set us into that stressful state and make us store fat or get on that roller coaster of blood glucose levels. So I was going to mention that. And that doesn't mean cut out coffee forever, all day, every day. It just means sometimes for people, in terms of small changes, going from 4 cups of coffee a day to 1 or 2 can make a huge impact on energy levels. And it might take a week or 2. Like people sometimes cut back on coffee and then come back to me the next day and they're like, I feel terrible. And yeah, you may feel a little bit flat for a week or 2 while your body adjusts, but it's just giving your body a chance to reestablish its own energy, like natural energy, and not be relying on stimulants. So that could be one small change that you make, or restructuring your breakfast to set yourself off for the day, and just putting yourself first and knowing when to step back from stress where you can would really be some small little changes that could have big effects on your energy.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So if anyone listening would like to, you know, connect with you and work with you or find out a bit more, where can they find you?
Sure. So mainly I use Instagram in terms of social media. So that would be HER, HER, and then _ nutrition. And then my website that you can make bookings through or make contact through is www.hernutrition.co.nz.
Yay. Oh, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you today about something that I guess we could actually talk about all day. I reckon we could sit here all day.
All day and keep going. You know what? I think my husband knows more about women's health nutrition than he ever wants to know. So it's nice to be able to offload onto an equally enthused individual, although I'm sure I'll make him listen to this podcast anyway, let's be honest.
Yeah. Hi Javi. Yeah, he's probably like, oh gosh, but it's great because I think the more we talk about it and the more we can share different perspectives on things, we kind of say the same thing but in different ways. And there's no perfect solution. You don't have to be perfect. You can still have your pizza or your takeaways, but look at, you know, what your body is telling you. Start writing things down, start tracking things, and just start flooding your body with more good nutrients. And then from there, see how you go, but just be kind to yourself.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
knowing all this stuff, everyone thinks, I don't know about you, everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky you know this stuff, Barbara, and you must find it so easy. And it's like, you know, people come around and open my fridge and most of the time it looks great and they're like, oh my God, look at your fridge. But I'm human. I'll go out on a Friday night with the girls and have pizza, or I like a nice beer or whatever. And sure,
yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, you're eating that. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to do what's going to be good for your mind and your soul sometimes. And knowing that you can do that because you are treating yourself so well majority of the time, and you're really bumping up your nutrients so that you can afford to just enjoy life sometimes when the occasion calls is important. And that's what makes it sustainable. And really, in terms of nutrition, it has to be sustainable, otherwise you're not going to do it. And that's why, you know, yo-yo diets and crash diets don't work, or they might work for a week or 2 or a month or 2, and you find yourself back at the same point. So just giving giving yourself a real chance to take care of yourself through eating whole nutrient-dense foods is just a great way to start, and then know that you can have that balance and that fun and that time with your girlfriends where you just relax is important too. So yeah, don't get me started again. There I am just ramping up for another 10 minutes. Everyone's like, oh,
another podcast.
Yeah.
It's good because a lot of the time I say exactly what you've kind of shared in a different way, and it's really nice for people to, you've got to resonate with people. And I think, in this line of work, we all do the same thing but different things, and that's why I think it's important we all work together and collaborate together, because it's such a more powerful message of like, we're human, but we want to help you understand the stuff that we know, because it's life. It'll change your life.
Completely, yeah.
And it's not expensive.
No, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Yes. I've had a really good chat with you today. It's been wonderful to have you as my guest on the podcast. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Babs. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathomson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!